What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Cocteau Twins, and we're going back to Treasured. Once again, shout out to all the folks who've shared Cocteau Twins, Han Solo, as well as Doug, who sent me the CD for this album. And the penultimate track is Otterly. Again, it sounds like a name, not one I'm familiar with from any vague reference to mythology, but perhaps that comes from a literary or indeed mythological source. Regardless, I don't expect to hear a full narrative with vocals or even necessarily clear, distinct lyrics in the first place, so let's just see how it sounds. This is Cocteau Twins, the track is Otterly, and it's from their 1984 album, Treasure. Well, I didn't really hear any of the words clearly. There were breathy, dreamy type of vocals, and indeed the whole sonic atmosphere of the tune felt like being in a warm, dreamy cloud. But maybe with a bit of melancholy in there, it definitely had a heavy feel, even as it felt very airy and dreamy. So yeah, my brain scrambling, trying to find the right terminological depiction of what that felt like. But yeah, I'm not quite sure if there are lyrics per se. It did sound like maybe one or two words right at the end there were actually words or maybe names, but I don't think I heard Otterly specifically. If I did, I didn't come across that way. But yeah, so one that definitely doesn't have what you would normally consider lyrics per se or indeed vocals per se, but there was some of Elizabeth's voice in the track. It felt very, what's the word, like transitional. Like I kept waiting for what was going to happen next, and then it sort of dissipated by the end. So yeah, just a very interesting tonal, atmospheric piece, perhaps perfectly reflective of the non-conventional approach to this album. I was reading something online. I forget where I was reading this recently, and it reminded me like, oh shoot, I do need to get back to Cocteau. But it was essentially saying that, and maybe this is something that people have commented on. Maybe that's where I read it. Maybe I read it in earlier comments. But that this album is not necessarily seen by members of the band as their best work, but that it was actually the most successful and perhaps sold better than any of the other albums. So a curious bit of historical trivia, if that is actually true. Regardless, we have one more after this. In the moment, I'm forgetting what it is, but I do believe I have Discogs open. Yeah, Donimo, and that's not Domino, but Donimo, or Donimo, I'm not sure. All these words I feel like have alternate pronunciations apparent. But yeah, we'll be done with the album when we come back for the next one. Let me know what you think of this. Shout out to Doug once again, and I will see you then. Peace.